Welcome everyone who's watching to the WCPC19 2019 All Hands Staff Meeting. This is available publicly on our YouTube channel, mainly for our staff to be able to find it easier, but it is mainly for staff. So if you are staff, hello, thank you very much for joining us and for making time in your evening. And or if you're watching this after the fact, which everybody should be doing one of the two, thank you for making time to watch it later. The YouTube chat is the place where you will want to ask any questions and comments and anything like that while we're talking here. Please don't use Slack. Please do use YouTube chat. We'll be keeping an eye on that. By the way, managers, can somebody volunteer to keep an eye on the that and log any questions that need answering?
I'm already watching it.
Okay, thanks, Lost. Cool. So if anyone else is watching, okay, Michelle waved her hand that she'll be back up for that as well. So we've got two people keeping an eye on that. If anyone that is not staff is watching, welcome. Enjoy this under the hood look into the convention planning process. But do us a favor, please go ahead and keep the chat room clear for staff only. Just go ahead and sit back and kind of watch and take it all in because it's magical. My name, in case you don't know me, is Charlie Worthley. I am the convention chair for WCPC19 2019. We've got a bunch of other managers here on the call. I will just go down the line and allow you all to introduce yourselves. So first up, we've got our programming director, Vivid Syntax.
Hey there, my name is Vivid. As Charlie said, I'm the programming director. So basically any of the departments that have to do with the events that are going on report up to me. So feel free to reach out to me if you have questions. Thank you.
Vivid is also in charge of our special events department. So anything related to the gala, cosplay contests, and charity auction are the main things, as well as like the autograph signing sections. Are things that he is in charge of in tandem with other departments on certain things. Continuing on the line, we've got our will be present in spirit after Thursday, but not for the entire con, Vendor Hall Department Head Screwloose. Hey, Screwy.
Hello, this is Screwloose right here with two very tired children in the background. I'm going to, yes, as Charlie said, due to scheduling snafus, I will be not present, but I will be having a phenomenal stand-in. You may know him as Choco Pony. He has worked for BabsCon before, so he and I've been working with him to prep for any realistic eventuality.
Cool. Okay, thanks very much. Next up, we have our security / Royal Guard Department Head, Finn.
Hey, everybody.
Man of many words, as you can tell. Next up, we have our AV Department Head this year, Lost Disc.
Hi guys, I'm Lost, and yes, that's a pun. You can thank Lycan for that.
How have I not heard that before? That's funny. Video Gaming Department Head, No Pony, is here. Say hey.
Greetings.
And our Kids Department Head here is, go ahead and say hi.
Hello.
We have our Main Events Department Head here, Cowboy Dave.
Howdy, howdy.
And then we have our Operations Department Head here.
Hi, guys.
And finally, we have our Registration Department Head.
Hello.
Okay. Thanks very much, managers, for joining in. There's a couple other managers that are watching as well, so hi to you as well. Sorry there wasn't room on the call. Darn you, Google Hangouts. But anyways, cool. So the main purpose of this call is to just kind of go over things that all staff should know. We won't be getting too deep into specific departmental things. If you have questions about things that are only specific to your department, excuse me, those will hopefully be covered or already have been covered in meetings that are with your department head and the rest of your team. So you can iron those out, specifics out directly. But yeah, of course, I do not have, I forgot to pull up my itinerary. So while I'm pulling that up, let's first talk about staff housing, because that's one of the things I know a lot of people. We want to make sure everybody's on the same page for that. So first of all, if just in case, if you are not sure if you are in a staff housing room, you're going to want to go look in Slack in the staff housing channel. There's a spreadsheet pinned in there, and on that spreadsheet, everyone put their names. If your name is not on that spreadsheet, you are not in a staff housing room. So let's just be very clear on that. As far as if you are on that list and you're not supposed to be, please tell me immediately. If you are not on that list, you can let me know. But at this point, unless we get enough people to fill up another room, it's unlikely that we will be able to have another staff room just because of how all that works. So one of the things that that's important to understand about the rooming here at the Hyatt is the Hyatt does not have the ability to split a room bill between multiple peoples like you can at most restaurants. So that's why we have something that we call a room captain. The room captain is the person who will be in charge of the bill for the room. Now, typically, the individual people in each room will, split the bill equally between how many people are in it per night. But it is, of course, up to the room if they want to modify that formula at all, for whatever reason. But otherwise, an even split is the general expectation. The room captain, when you arrive, you will need to put down a credit card for just like you would if you were checking into a normal room to secure the room and put the deposit down on it and everything. Now you can use a debit card. However, you want to be aware that the debit card will incur an extra fee on top of it, or they hold more money at the. Can anybody, if you know off the top of your head, just because this is I don't deal with this personally. Can you do you know the fees? Another manager.
I use my debit card when I pay, and the Schaumburg Hyatt, it's $50 a night, but they do allow you to pay cash for the deposit at the Schaumburg Hyatt.
Okay, I know they did that last year. They have had a change in management, so if you're counting on that, I might call ahead and make sure that that's still the case. It's still the same owners. It's just the manager that was there previously, the general manager, is not there anymore. So it's entirely possible that they may have changed their policy on that. Because that actually is unusual, I think, from my experience. Usually they want to put it on the card so that they know there's room on the card to, add charges if they need to. Yeah, aside from that, I know, like the Milwaukee Hyatt, they increased their fees a lot last year, but I think that's the ownership change that's responsible for that. But I think at the Schaumburg Hyatt, it's $50 either way if you're using a debit card, whether or not you're putting it on the debit card or if you're paying cash. But you can avoid that if you're securing the room with a credit card. Just to be very clear on that. Now, the room captain is supposed to be the person that checks into the room first, but it does not have to be. If the room captain is running late or whatever, somebody else can opt to check into the room first. However, then you become the room captain. The first person to check into the room has to be the person to put down their card and secure the room and all that fun stuff. So you are certainly allowed to switch that up amongst yourselves, but just be aware if you are the first person checking into the room, you have to secure it with a card. Felix, I am on a call. Do you mind? Yeah, so aside from that, it is room captains. It is my general recommendation that you, unless you are very trusting of your roommates, to collect the money from them sooner rather than later. You are completely within your rights to ask for the money in advance before a con, just so you don't have to worry about it. It is very rare, but there has been the occasional circumstance in the past where a roommate has put themselves in a bad position of not having the funds when everybody goes to check out, which is then left it, unfortunately, on the shoulders of the room captain. I hate it when that happens. So, if in the case of any room captains that aren't, that are even slightly nervous about that kind of thing, you are completely within your right to ask for the, hey buddy, to ask for the room, your share in advance. Really, you're about to get picked up. I'm sorry about this. But you don't have to. That is optional, but that is something you are allowed to do, certainly if you want to. Aside from that, does anyone have any questions about rooming, just to be very clear, parking at this hotel is free. Thank you, Celestia. So you don't have to worry about parking fees or anything like that. But if aside from that, check-in. Oh, also check-in times are different than they were last year. It is now check-in at 4 p.m. and check-out at 11 a.m. They've pushed each one of those back an hour, and that's just the general check-in times that are on their website. That's not like specific for us or anything. We're going to go ahead and turn it over to the chat room now. If anyone has any questions about staff rooming or just staying at the hotel or anything about that in general, this is your call for questions to go into the YouTube chat room, please. Lost, Michelle, do we have any questions so far?
No, I just want to know if the cat wants to snuggle.
He really, really does. Let's see.
Do you know if they charge extra for a late checkout? Like if I would say, can we check out at noon? Do they charge extra for that?
In my experience, they have not charged extra if they can accommodate. But again, that new manager, so that is entirely possible that's changed. But in my experience, the answer is no.
If you have a Hyatt membership, regardless of your level, if they can accommodate, they're pretty good about giving you late checkout without any additional fee.
Okay.
Do we give the money to the room leader, or what do we do there?
Okay. So people that are in rooms, in terms of how you pay your room captain, it's up to the room captain to decide how to collect that money. If you want them to PayPal you or if you want them to hand you cash, that is all up to yourselves to figure out how to do. But yes, you do give that money to your room captain. And again, by default, the room captain is, when you go and look at that spreadsheet, it should be the first name in each of so each day there's 4 blocks for the 4 people we can fit in a room, and the first name is bold, and so that is supposed to be, the instructions say that person should be the room captain. But again, it can be any of you. It's just, it will end up being whoever checks into the room first, if that's clear. So yes, whoever checked into the room first and is the person to put down their credit card, that is the person that the rest of the roommates give your money to, because they are the ones paying for the bill. Any other questions in regards to rooms? Looks like no. Cool. So let's go ahead and move on here. When you get to con, so I've got my itinerary up now, so we'll get back on track. Excuse me. So when you get to con, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to operations. Operations is this is of course after you're settled and everything and checked into your room and all that. If you are staying in a room, if you're not local, but once you're settled and everything, you're ready to get started. Your first stop is going to be operations. Operations will have all of the staff shirts and staff badges. They will check you in, and then after that, as far as what you do and where you go, that is a question for your department head. Yes.
We're going to be requesting that everyone show their ID. So official government ID, driver's license. If you have it and you want to show it off, your passport is fine. Just to make sure that there isn't any type of fraud for picking up badges.
Will if they just pull up the Eventbrite barcode on their phone, is that good enough, or do you want the ID in addition to that?
We want the ID in addition to that.
Okay, all right, you heard it. So please plan to have your government ID valid, please, not expired. Thank you. You may or may not be surprised the number of people that try and use expired IDs at cons. I swear to God. But I know Finn's not surprised.
Yeah, I'll reiterate that, especially because we have events that are 18 and 21 plus. If any of my security members ID you and your ID is expired, even though you have your convention badge, you will not be allowed into set events because your ID is expired.
Yep. It's like it doesn't exist.
Now, I have a question because I just recently renewed my driver's license. The DMV gave me a photograph paper until they sent me my new one. What happens to people who have that situation?
That's considered a legal ID. That piece of paper is your legal ID.
Yeah, so if you get pulled over and you show them that piece of paper, you're fine. It's the same thing for us.
Okay.
Hey, Charlie, is Ops going to be in the same room still?
Yes, Ops is in the same place. We were talking for a while, just FYI, just for some people, we were talking for a while about putting Ops So taking where the sponsor lounge typically is, and what is it, 2321, I think it is, taking sponsor lounge and ops and switching them, but that ended up not panning out. So what we did instead, and this is going to be new information for everybody, I haven't told anyone this yet, there are some meeting rooms that are downstairs in the 1000 hallway. They're basically just like rooms with like a conference table in them. I'm going to make that the manager's office, which will kind of be where I'll be setting up like my laptop and things like that, and I'll have some of like the more valuable things that that sometimes get left in ops that I probably shouldn't be leaving in ops, but I do just because I'm too busy thinking about anything else. So it's sort of an extension of ops, but it's not going to be like anybody can come and go. Any of the other directors will have access to it, you know, if it, just in case they need a place to like work or like, you know, talk to someone privately or whatever. But if we, the reason why I'm mentioning this now is also if we need additional storage space, if that room is just too crowded and you just need a place to throw some stuff, that is an option. So,
do you know if it's a key card situation?
I believe it is a key card situation. Yes.
Thank you.
People want to know if you'll have your printer in there as well.
The printer I will probably leave in ops proper just because I know some people need to get at that sometimes. However, my laptop will not be there, so somebody else may need to have a laptop handy so people can bring like thumb drives or whatever to plug in if they need to print stuff out, or if they want to pull up their Google account in an incognito window or something like that, you know, something like that. I know we have some laptops handy that are older, but they will hopefully get the job done. Let's see. Right. So yeah, aside from that, while you were at con, it is up to each department to decide how they want to communicate with each other. For me personally, basically once the con starts, I maybe will get the check-in on Slack once or twice a day, but do not try and get a hold of me on Slack at that point. Like if it's anything even remotely urgent that you need an answer to, like even that day, it's probably not a good idea to try and get me on Slack. We have a supply of radios that we will be distributing. If you know, radios are probably one of the best ways to get in contact with other people, other departments. Not every single person on staff gets a radio. Priority goes to like you know, to directors, to security, and then at least each department will get at least one, but it won't be like every single person on staff has a radio. But there should be a radio nearby and accessible to you if you don't have one personally. So at least for me, for example, if you need to get a hold of me, either trying to call me on the radio, or in the instances where sometimes I turn it off and forget to turn it back on because I'm like on stage or whatever, call myself. My cell phone number is on my Slack profile. You can look that up and you can call me if you need me.
Question.
Yes.
Is Charlie Tracker going to be active?
I'm sure it will be, probably not in the same degree as it has been in the past, because Kenny, we had to give her up to guest relations. We needed handlers, and so I will not have my own personal handler like I did at Ciderfest, but I'm sure it will be still active in some degree. Let's see. Just looking at chat to see if anything recent. Doesn't look like it. Okay. Right. So as long as I guess we're talking about radios, who wants to talk about radio etiquette? Managers, who wants to volunteer for that?
Say unless ops wants to, I'll take radio etiquette.
Go for it.
Oh, radio etiquette. For those who have maybe not... Sorry, I have one of my former security members from ASIN seizing over here. Who have maybe not used radios at conventions before. The initial thing you want, a couple things. Speak slowly, enunciate your words. When you hold down the button for the radio, it will beep. After it beeps, wait about 2, maybe 3 seconds, or as we call it, find the gap, and then start to speak. If you start to speak as soon as you press the button down, we will not hear everything you say. The other thing I will say is even though we are a smaller convention, we don't have repeaters. That said, we have enough radios, and because of where we are, there is a possibility that for whatever reason, the FCC may be listening to our radio chat. It's rare, but it is possible. That said, mind what you say on the radio. No cursing. Anything that you say may be heard on if somebody has their radio open. Don't say anything that you would not want a convention attendee to hear over the radio. That's the thing.
Don't let small children hear you swearing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please and thank you.
Don't eat the microphone. You're better off giving it a few, like, at least make sure it's a couple inches away from your mouth. If any of you have ever done, sing in a band or used a live microphone on stage before, keep it a little bit away. Enunciate slowly, and yeah, you'll be good. Oh yeah, don't mention money over the radio.
Yes,
we'll figure something out while on site to discuss the transfer of cash. Don't mention money on the radio.
Yes. Just to sort of expand on a couple things that Finn said. Yeah, when these radios, they're not encrypted. Like, anybody can go out and buy one of the same radios and like probably hop on the same frequency and like hang out in the parking lot and listen to everything that is being said by anybody. So and then also because of the broadcast range of these radios, they are, I guess, under the umbrella of the FCC and what is okay to broadcast and what isn't. So yeah, that's aside from the fact that I don't want to hear like people walking around with loudspeakers. I don't want around attendees and other non-attendee hotel guests and staff and everything. I don't want to hear people like acting like idiots on the radios. Just in general, we're just goofing around. But then also, yes, obviously, swearing, cursing, just in general, just being inappropriate on the radios. I don't want people in the hotel to hear that. I also don't want the FCC to hear that. So please and thank you. But yeah, in general, and also just to expand on the point about don't say anything that you wouldn't want somebody else to hear, like in terms of like, Finn brought up the point of like cash, where it applies to registration and consort, for example. You also just don't want to say anything over the radio that would like, I don't know, cause a panic or anything like that. Like if, fingers crossed it doesn't happen, but like if like people get into a fight, like don't pick up the fight and say, hey, security, there's a fight happening in the lobby, because guess what's going to happen? Anybody who hears that is going to run to the lobby because they want to see the fight happening. Just say calmly in any sort of situation like that, can we please have security to the lobby in general? Finn, would you say that's accurate? Thumbs up. Awesome. And then, please, no joking on the radio about things like, because, we had an incident last year where somebody was on the radio and they joked about something happening in the lobby. Well, a bunch of other people did not know it was a joke and took it seriously and ran out of the lobby because they thought there was a problem. There wasn't. So please, just none of that either. Thank you. And then in terms of, and then also in turn, ops will have their process for checking in and out radios. But here's the important part: when you check out a radio, it is your responsibility. What I would suggest you do is, if you check out a radio, that you be the one to bring that radio back. So what that means is, so let's say you're opening up your department, but I'll just use registration as an example. You're opening up registration. You're going down to ops to grab a radio. You're signing it out. And now it's halfway through the day and your shift is over. Some people may say to the person, that's taking over as far as being in charge or whatever, it's like, okay, there's the radio. Make sure you take it back when you're done. You can do that. However, understand that if that radio does not make it back to operations, you are the one that signed it out. You are the one that is responsible for replacing it if it is not found. What I recommend is that you have your replacement go and get a second radio and bring that one down. So then for a period of time, there's 2 radios in registration until you leave and take yours back and sign it back in. That is my recommendation for just making sure that there's no situations where somebody is responsible for somebody else's mistake. Yes. Somebody wants to say something.
Yes, and if anybody needs any substitutions for swear words, I've been working with kids for a very long time. I have a whole list of very adorable substitutions for swear words.
Okay. All right. Noted. Good to know.
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
Did we have like code words that we're going to be using at this one? That's been a practice that we tried to kind of adhere to in the past. So if there was a situation where security was needed, you'd have like a color code to accompany that.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll discuss those off call because this is a public call. So, yeah.
I just want to make sure they were there. So.
Yes. Yeah. So, Finn, if you want to come up with a couple just generic things that you think people will remember, we can put those in Slack later.
And we just got asked about that.
What's that?
And we just got asked about code words.
Okay.
That's the other thing I'll mention, whether it's code words or what. I'm not a fan of using 10 code. Well, actually, rephrase that. I don't mind using 10 codes. I am not going to dissuade anyone from using 10 codes. That said, not everyone understands 10 codes. So, obviously, 10.4 is understood. But beyond that, not everyone else. I'm not going to push that on anybody to use them. I would advise not using them if possible, just to make sure everyone understands what you're trying to get across on the radio. Other than that, actually, I just thought about something. If there are issues that are brought up over the radio and there is a call for a group, specifically security, unless you are actually requested over the radio, regardless of what group it is, I don't want people running to issue. If you get called out over the radio, please come assist. Otherwise, stand by until further requested.
Yep. And then also, just because it's semi-related, Finn, general handling of medical issues. If somebody gets injured and they need to ask for, what do they do if a staffer, we'll say for the sake of argument, because I'm sure internally you will have your procedures for Royal Guard for how they handle medical issues. But externally, for the rest of staff, if they witness or see somebody get injured, what should they do?
So if there are issues, assuming that the issue has not already been either somebody has not already called 911 or it is not already brought to the attention of the hotel, we will have a medical personnel on our staff this year, if at all possible, and it is not something where somebody is literally bleeding out. The worst case scenario, please let us know. We will have our medical personnel go on site. If you feel that 911 needs to be called, if at all possible, please let us know so we can let the hotel know and the hotel can call 911.
Us being Royal Guard, right?
Yeah. Most hotels appreciate if they can be the ones to call 911 in advance because they can route around the actual 911 dispatch, and it is easier for them to make the call than to route it through 911 and magically have an ambulance show up and the hotel is unaware.
Cool. Thank you for that. So on a semi-related note, now this is filed under the kind of things where I hope I will be wasting everyone's time by talking about what I'm about to talk about. But better safe than sorry. I'm going to talk about two things. First of all, I'm sure many of you are aware of the prank call, the SWAT call, or whatever you want to call it, that happened to HarmonyCon back in February. There is a person who, God only knows how much credibility this person has and how much, how serious they were. But there is a person who I think it was in the main chat Discord server, which if you're not aware is like a very popular just a general MLP Discord server that a lot of people are in. There's somebody, if I remember correctly, that was in main chat that was joking about essentially, I'm so glad now I know that Winnie City is coming up. I'm totally going to call a fake bomb threat on them. Now, this is something that we have been through before, unfortunately. So here's what I'm going to say two things on this. One, because this person gave us a heads up, I will be letting the hotel know, and I'm sure the hotel will let the local law enforcement know that this is a minor possibility. Now, when this happened before, of course, it was a prank. Like it's a. I think it's a 99.9% certainty that if anything like this happened, it is going to be a prank. However, it is that 0.001 whatever percent possibility that it's not a prank, where we have to take it seriously. I sure hope we don't have to deal with this, but we do have to be prepared whether or not this person made the joke / threat that they did. It's something that we just kind of need to know how to handle. So if somebody were to call in a something like a bomb threat or a SWAT call or something like that to the Schaumburg Police Department, I don't know what they're going to do. Like, especially giving them a heads up that the potential of a prank has been raised by somebody. I don't know if that changes their procedure. I'm guessing actually probably not. They probably have to take it seriously no matter what. The eventuality may happen that some people that some law enforcement may show up, and that they may say, we received a threat about this and we have to do whatever we're going to do about it. If that happens, obviously this all probably goes very much without saying, but cooperate, follow instructions, whatever they tell us to do, we're going to do. We're not going to complain. We're not going to say like, oh, it's just a joke, like we don't actually need to leave. Just follow instructions, do what they tell us to do, so that they can clear the area and so people can get back to having fun. So that's sort of the important thing I wanted to mention there. Now, the other thing that I hope I don't have to talk about, but I'm going to just in case, is in the event that somebody with a weapon shows up at the convention. Finn, can you kind of talk about how people should respond to an eventuality like that?
Unfortunately,
I know.
Unfortunately. So if there is some kind of issue, whether it's a like false threat or something that actually happens that we actually have to evacuate the entire hotel for, first of all, listen, if there are any first responders on site, whether it is PD, whether it is fire department, whether it is paramedics, they are the first person that you listen to where to go. Do not argue with them. Do not try and be a hero. No. Listen to them. Get out of the hotel. Go to the direction they want you to go. Do the thing. Before they are on site, if there are issues, unfortunately, I will say that I've had to deal with both anything from fire alarms to, unfortunately, chemical attacks on a convention. If there are not first responders on site yet, I will make sure that whether it's myself or the rest of my team or other managers or directors are trying to get you to safety. Again, don't be a hero. If you think you can get somebody out and before you've heard, like, get somebody out of their room, but don't go back into the hotel, please, 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 please. Get yourself safe. Get out of the hotel. And obviously make sure, make phone calls, check on people, but don't try and be a hero. Whether it's something silly or whatever, just get out, help yourself, help others, but the big thing is don't go back into the hotel. Honestly.
Yeah.
And check Slack for if it's okay.
Yeah. In a situation like that, do make sure to check in on Slack for just general announcements. In terms of status and things. I see that there's some people in the chat room just asking about fake weapons. Just generally speaking, I'm assuming you're referring to like cosplayers, for example. The short and simple rule on that is if whatever the thing is could possibly be misconstrued as a real weapon from a distance by the average person, then we don't allow it. So like an airsoft gun that has like an orange tip, that's not okay. An airsoft gun with that's been painted white or neon green, still not okay. It still could potentially be a real gun. It needs to be something that is very, very, very clearly not something that fires bullets. Like Nerf guns, for example, are usually okay. Something that's made out of like cardboard or foam or whatever is usually okay. But security will handle any specific instances like that. But no, you won't see people. You shouldn't see people walking around with anything that looks like an actual weapon. If you do, please let Royal Guard know, so that they can let that person know that those items aren't okay. Let Royal Guard handle any instances like that, just to be clear. Okay. Right. So hopefully that is all of the downer stuff that we need to talk about here. So let's go ahead and go back to the list here. Also, just so everyone knows, I'm just jumping back to when you pick up your staff badge and your staff shirt, you will get one of the staff shirt that you requested on your Eventbrite registration. You have maybe till tomorrow to let me know if that size has changed in the time since you fill out your staff badge. We will not be having a mechanism for people to request extra badges, extra shirts this time around. We will have a couple extra for like accidents and things like that, but that's all. So let's see here. So pre-reg for when attendees show up, just so everyone knows, we'll be opening in the ballpark of 6 p.m. And this will be badge only, like only people that are pre-registered. There won't be any cash transactions. So if people have showed up and they haven't purchased their badge yet, they're going to have to wait until Friday morning. But other than that, when people show up, you can let them know. If any attendees ask where to go, if you haven't been to the hotel before, it's kind of a weird layout of a hotel. So you kind of have main events and the vendor hall at the top of it, and then which kind of circles around to like where video gaming and like special events is. In the middle of that circle, there's a staircase that goes downstairs, and then downstairs at the bottom of that staircase is where registration is, and then that's where tabletop and then the deep dish and hoofwork panel rooms are. So you can just let them know it's the only staircase really, I think, in the place. So you can just let them know to go down the stairs, and then that's where registration is. That's where they can pick up their badges. It'll open at 6 and be open until 10-ish, just depending on how they're feeling about things. If anyone does show up early, and if you don't have anything to do, it's very likely that we'll be looking for help assembling sponsor bags. That will be happening in the mustard mark room, which is right at the top of that staircase, right outside of operations, actually. So if you want to help put together sponsor bags, it's likely that we'll need a couple bodies in there.
Somebody wants to know if they can get more than one gala ticket per badge. Or one badge, one gala ticket.
If you want to buy gala tickets for other people, you certainly can. That's totally fine. When you buy their gala ticket, you can put their name on it. But even then, like, we don't check to make sure that the name on a gala ticket matches the person that's handing it in. As long as they have a ticket, that doesn't have the stub torn off, anybody can use it. I know some sponsors don't care about the gala, so they'll like give or sell their tickets or whatever away to other people. So yes, the answer is yes. If you want to buy multiple tickets for whatever reason, that's totally okay.
Hey, Charlie.
Yes.
Because somebody had mentioned having orange tape to tip fake weapons. Don't put orange tape on the weapons. Please bring them to Royal Guard so we can verify the fakeness of said weapon. That just reinforces what you said. If from a distance the fake weapon could look real to somebody just walking around the hotel, they can't have it in general. I want to have one of my guys take a look at it just to make sure. I don't want somebody putting orange tape on it. Things have gone worse because somebody painted the tip of something orange and cops have shown up.
Yep. Because we obviously we don't want things to fire bullets. We also don't want airsoft guns. Like, we don't want people walking around with something that can shoot airsoft bullets. Not that you can kill somebody with those, but still, like, you can break something or hurt people. Like, so even something that has an orange tip on it, even if it actually is something with an orange tip on it, it's probably not something that we want. So putting orange on something is, like Finn said, is making it worse. So yeah, let Royal Guard handle anything like that. Okay. Let's see. What do we got next? Any unresolved questions here?
I'm confused by Brent. He says staff sponsor that doesn't go to the gala.
I don't know what that means.
But
okay.
other than that, yeah, nothing has popped up.
Looks like we're pretty caught up on questions then.
I actually had a question real quick if you had a chance, Charlie.
Yeah, Tree Stump, we will get to 621. Don't worry, I promise. Yes, go ahead, Alex.
So registration is dealing with the tickets for Gala. Will we be selling those day one as well? Because I know no pre-reg is happening. Well, I mean, ACON reg, but if some pre-reg people want to buy Gala tickets that day, are we allowed to do that?
So yes. So to clarify, no transactions are taking place on Thursday, but on Friday, we'll be selling Friday badges and then AtCon weekend badges, as well as gala tickets and cocktail hour badges, if any are still available. So you'll have some extras there so that you can hand someone if they buy one. So the answer is yes. They just can't purchase it on Thursday is all.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep. Or, I mean, they could go online and purchase it and then pick it up, the next day. But, you won't be processing any transactions in person at registration.
Gearwork wants to know if there will be a dance lesson for the gala.
And I believe, Lost, you can answer that.
And the answer is yes, there will be a dance lesson.
Yeah, we have one of our new community guests, Crackle's Cousin Cosplay. They're sort of helping us out with a couple different things. And one of those things is going to be some various dance lessons and things like that, with some music theming and stuff like that at the gala. So yes, it will not be, it will only be like about 15 minutes or so. It won't be half the gala like it was last year. Bless Caitlin and Ian's hearts. But yes, the answer is yes. Okay, just a reminder for anybody that's watching, please go ahead and, if you are not staff, please go ahead and leave the chat room free for staff only. You can just go ahead and kind of sit back and observe. And then again, just a reminder for staff, if you have any questions, please do put them in the YouTube chat so that we can answer them. And even if it's something that we haven't talked about yet, go ahead and put it in there just to make sure we don't forget about it. But yeah, no, I guess this is as good of a time as any. So this just comes down to how staff should be conducting themselves at the convention. Obviously, it's a convention. Like, we're all there to have a good time. We're all there to have fun, and I should have led with this. Thank you, obviously, for staff, excuse me, that are taking their time, out to help put this on for everyone else. I certainly appreciate it. All our attendees appreciate it. Just like we couldn't do this without attendees, we couldn't do this without staff either. So we definitely appreciate it. Sort of on that note, we are light in staff in a couple departments this year. So if it turns out that your department, wherever you are, is potentially overstaffed, managers may look into Slack to see if there are other departments that could use hands with just coverage, so people can take lunch breaks or whatever, or things like that. So if you are willing to help out anywhere else, please let your department heads know so that if they see other departments are in need, they know that they have somebody that they can, potentially offer up to help out with those needs. Now, obviously, that's not going to work everywhere. Not everyone is... not everyone has a natural, penchant for working every department. So certain people may be better fits, in certain departments, but maybe not in others. So don't feel offended if you volunteer to work somewhere and they say, we're good, thank you. But maybe they ask someone else that's just, we appreciate your offer nonetheless. But yes, if you are willing to help with other departments, please let your department head know. And they will, if you are needed somewhere else, they will let you know. So yeah. But yes, further in terms of just how staff should be conducting themselves. So 621. Who hasn't talked on the call yet that wants to explain what 621 means?
Oh, I can do that.
Okay, go ahead.
This is coming from a vendor's perspective.
And we also get a sneak peek tour behind Screwy's house.
No, inside, not behind.
That's what I meant, sorry.
So 621. for every 6 hours of sleep, you need to have, every day, you need to have at least 6 hours of sleep, 2 meals, and 1 shower. Now, I would personally like to say 622, but at the bare minimum, 621. Now, Axe does not count as a shower.
Thank you.
It is both causes asthma issues, and let's just face it, it just makes you smell. It just makes you smell even worse.
Yeah. Yeah. So yes, obviously this is if you decide. Okay. So first of all, how little you sleep, especially in comparison with the rest of the people in your department, it is not a competition to see who is able to sleep the least and work the most. I know some departments sort of have that mindset about things. So do not put yourself, just take care of yourself. Stay. It's not going to help anything if you are overtired, if you are starving, or if you haven't showered. I have completely and totally no problem walking up to any staffer that needs doing so and telling them to go back to their room and refresh themselves. So please don't put me in that position, because I will do it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but department heads can also do that too, if needed. Correct?
Pyro's not sure about that. I will say yes. Just let the chain know, just so we can be aware of it happening.
Gotcha.
And only for your own department too. I don't, it shouldn't be, department heads shouldn't be telling that to people of other departments, just because of, again, just, familiarity and just, knowledge of what's happening and everything. So let their department head know, or their director or whatever know, and then they can handle it. But yeah, just generally speaking, just take care of yourself. If you are capable of going on less sleep, or or just whatever, obviously if you only sleep for 4 hours of sleep, I'm not going to tell you to go take a nap, if you're seeming fine. If it happened at Ciderfest, where there were people who were just so very, very, very excited to be putting on a great show that they were working themselves to the point of delirium, close to. And I medicaled them. I told them, like, listen, you are done. I want you to go and take a nap, because you need it. So it is not something that I am afraid to do if I think somebody can do it. Now, I am not a hypocrite either. I don't know if I'm going to get 6 hours of sleep every single night, but that should be the goal. So do everything you can to try and meet that goal. And then also, again, keep yourselves fed and keep yourselves fresh. Thank you. Beyond that, in the case of any attendees that, anyone at the convention, attendee, staff, whatever, again, just something to be very, very, very clear on. Corey, also, if he's there, and I believe he is going to be there. But other than that, I am the only person on staff who has the authority to pull someone's badge and kick them out of the convention. So if anyone runs into a situation where a staffer or attendee, excuse me, just anyone there, anyone, I'll just say attendees in general, and for right now, I'm including staffers in that bucket. If anyone runs into a situation where an attendee is acting or behaving or whatever in a way that you think is deserving of them either being sent back to their room for the day, or potentially even having their badge pulled and excused from the remainder of the event, again, go to Royal Guard if you think that that's appropriate, which almost certainly in this kind of situation it would be. And then it'll get up the chain to me, and then, but if it gets to the point where it's going to be like a behind closed doors conversation with this person, I am the only person that can actually pull their badge and tell them you're out. If I find out that anyone on staff has pulled anyone else's badge, I will pull your badge. So be very clear on that. Any questions that are unresolved so far? Just checking in on that. Looks like nothing that needs resolving too. Okay. And then just sort of just general handling of issues with like attendees that are complaining about things. Like if you have a situation where an attendee is complaining about something, whatever it is, if you're just like a level 1 staffer, you don't have to be the bad guy in a situation, bad person, excuse me, in a situation. If you, feel free to, if you get into a situation where you have somebody saying like, may I please speak to your manager, by all means, get their manager. Feel free to get the manager proactively to a situation like that. But go ahead and let the managers and the directors and the chair be the bad actors in situations. If we have to tell someone like the news that they don't want to hear, and if you aren't able to give them the answer that they want to hear, and that isn't good enough for them, just general kind of customer service, responsiveness to things like this, feel free to feed it up the chain. Just because we have the experience and the ability, we have the experience in handling situations like this, and we also have the ability that you might not have as a level 1 staffer, to be able to resolve the situation and diffuse the situation in potentially other ways. So go ahead and let us bear the brunt of dealing with situations like that. Don't feel like you have to, get to the end of resolving every single like complaint and issue that comes up. When you have your staff badge around your neck and or when you are wearing your staff shirt, I don't care if you're actually on shift or not. At that point, you are representing the con as staff. So if somebody stops you and asks you a question, if somebody needs help with something, just regardless of the situation, first of all, if somebody asks you a question, the answer is never, I don't know. The answer is, at the worst, I don't know, but let's find out. And then involve another staffer, get somebody on the radio, walk with them to wherever they're trying to figure something out with, like help them get the answer that they want. Don't blow them off. Don't, don't say like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not actually on shift. That's just not how we want to that's not how we keep our attendees happy and keep them coming back so we can keep doing these events. So the answer is never, I don't know. The answer is, I don't know, let's find out, and then find out, please. So on that note, when you are off staff, get out of your staff shirt so that so that it's less likely that somebody will be bothering you when with convention questions. But of course, you will still have your staff badge. But even still, when you don't have your staff shirt on, but you have your staff badge on, if somebody recognizes you as being staff and they say, "Oh, you're staff, can you help me with something?" The answer is never, "Oh, I'm not actually on shift, sorry." So just kind of at all times be representing the convention to the best of your ability so that we can keep these people coming back and keep them, having a good time so that we can keep doing these events, please. Vivid, do you want to say something? Or?
Just a question. I think in years past we've had the policy of don't be like drinking a beer while you're wearing a staff shirt. Is that still the case?
Almost in almost every situation, yes. It's you definitely don't want to look like. I would say, generally speaking, yes. So what you do in the privacy of a hotel room, of course, is I don't care about that at all. But if you're going to go down to like the hotel bar or be walking around with a drink or something like that, excuse me, try and not be in your staff shirt, if at all possible, which it should be. Yeah. So thank you, Alex. A question?
No, sorry, I just hit my mic button.
Okay, cool. Let's. Are staff shirts allowed at the beer tasting? I would say I would prefer not, for both my sake and for yours, because I don't want people to bother you when you're trying to enjoy the tasting. So I would recommend just changing your shirt real quick, because you're not on shift anyway. So I would recommend you not have it on. Yeah, I would say no. I would say, yeah, if you're not on shift and you're going to be at events, you want to get out of your staff shirt, I would say. Just to prevent any possibility of somebody trying to bother you when you're trying to enjoy the convention. That's what I would say there.
Can I come back to the cleanliness thing real quick? I've staffed a lot of cons, and a lot of staff people, you know, just wear their shirt one layer, you will get gross. I suggest wearing an undershirt, so it even makes it easier just to strip off your top one if you want to go do something like drink at a bar. So like wearing an undershirt is actually a very good idea, especially since, you know, you don't want to be offensive to the nose.
That's a really good point. Yeah, and especially because we might not have, you know, we're not going to have a ton of extra staff shirts to go around in case something does happen to yours. If it were to happen from the from the inside out, yeah, having an undershirt under your staff shirt is actually a really good idea.
Is there a policy about speakers being played while roaming around the convention?
So the question is about people who have who walk around with speakers playing music. I'm not a fan personally, but as long as it's not too loud and as long as they're not playing anything offensive, I think we'll probably let it go, unless anyone has a differing opinion on that.
So I will talk to the hotel and see if they have a request on like decibel levels at time of day, because we've run into that issue at FurFest. And the hotel has actually given us recommended decibel levels based on time. So I figure I'll have my guys throw, even if they just download decibel meter apps on their phones. If there is a question on being played in public space, walk by, check levels. Nothing crazy, just to make sure the hotel's happy.
Yeah, as long as it's not offensive, and as long as it's not too loud based on what's been said, then yeah, we'll just let it slide. Now, you know, of course, at the end of the, you know, at the core, we want to be respectful to the hotel. We want to be respectful to people that are guests of the hotel that are not attendees, in addition to making sure that, you know, attendees aren't bothered. Now, I think most people that go to these conventions enough are used to that kind of thing. So yeah, we're not going to completely shut it down, but as, you know, as long as people are being, you know, conversely respectful, then, you know, okay. Let's see.
Just to clarify, they want to confirm no staff shirts in the bar.
Yes, I would say if well, so yeah. Once again, generally speaking, if you're not on shift, I would suggest getting out of your staff shirt. Now, I'm not going to say now if you are off shift and you have just gotten off shift and you're wearing your staff shirt and you are just physically being in the bar. I'm not saying that's not okay, but don't order a drink. If you get to the point of saying like, okay, I'm going to order a drink, I'm going to relax, take 5 minutes, go to your room, switch your shirt out, come back, and then you won't have to worry about it. So it's not that you can't be in your shirt in the bar, it's that you can't be drinking in the bar with your staff shirt on.
Somebody commented that in programming events, you might just want to say like staff shouldn't be asking anybody to turn their music down, they should be going to.
Yeah. So if people have their music on during like a panel or something, or Royal Guard, I imagine will be pretty good about handling that. That's not something that I've seen be a problem before with people having their music on like actually in programming events. People have been respectful on that nature. But in case somebody were dumb enough to like actually walk into like a panel room when somebody's like putting on a panel and sit down with their music playing, let Royal Guard handle it. But I think actually probably in general, if you felt comfortable just saying politely, of course, just like, excuse me, would you mind just turning that down a bit so, that people can hear? I think that's probably okay, but don't take it beyond that. Involve Royal Guard if the person is resistant to your polite request. Yeah, hopefully that's not something that we have to deal with there. Okay, let's see.
I did with the noise. I had at Winnie City last year. One of the community guests had set up something was very loud outside of kids programming. Usually, if you're very polite, usually it's not an issue. So I was just very nice and said, "This is kind of loud. Can you just move it over a little bit?" And he was very, very nice. So
yeah. I think people will be. I think our attendees will be pretty respectful and stuff like that, so I would not worry about it too much. I had somebody asked a question. If we have an undershirt on, can we take off our staff shirt at our station and leave it at the station till they come back? I would recommend not doing that, just because if the shirt disappears, then you're kind of, then that puts you in a bad situation. But technically, yes, I suppose that is something that you have that would be okay. As long as you felt comfortable doing that, but I would say that should be like a last resort. Try and have it be somewhere safe, like in your room, so that it doesn't grow legs and walk off. Whether on purpose or accidentally, accidents can happen. Somebody could dump accidentally knock a drink over on top of it. I mean, yeah. So that would be a something I would probably not do unless you had to, kind of a situation there. Okay, so yeah. Also, just in terms of just general dress code for each department, your department head will specify what your dress code is. For most departments, it will be your dress code while you're on shift is your staff shirt, and then just some sort of bottom, pants or a long skirt or something like that. Anything like that is fine. Just as long as it's not, as long as whatever it is not too short or too tight. You know what I mean? But anything else is probably fine. Minor, as far as I'm concerned. Now, again, your department head has authority over this. Generally speaking, as far as I'm concerned, minor cosplay elements like ears or a tail or something like that are okay. As long as it doesn't cover up your shirt on the front and back that identifies you as staff. As far as I'm concerned, that's totally okay. Your department head may have other thoughts on that matter, and then some departments may have completely different dress codes. So your department head will specify the dress code for your department. But in general, yeah, just as long as whatever you're wearing is clean, like you don't want to be wearing jeans that look like you were just hiking up a mountain. You know what I mean? Yeah, so as long as they're clean and not destroyed, then yeah, should be fine for the most part.
They want to know if slippers being worn around the con floor, yes or no, or would that be more of a safety hazard?
I would say don't wear slippers.
Wait, as far as staff or just like walking around the convention?
It doesn't specify. I think we might want to address it both ways.
I would say over 15 years of working a convention, if you're staff, your shoes better need to stay on. If you move quick, you don't want your shoes falling off.
Hotels like it if you're wearing shoes.
Yes.
They like your feet covered.
Yeah. My suggestion, based on everyone else's department, it's on you. Suggestion would be if you are working as staff, have shoes that are not going to fall off your feet.
Yeah.
And I can tell you right now that if you're in like main events, if you do anything with AV, you're going to want to wear shoes because there's a possibility that things could fall on your feet. And if you got something just like slippers on, there's not enough safety there because some of those things can be really heavy.
You heard it here first. Leave your Crocs at home.
So
yeah. Now, in terms of attendees, that would defer to whatever the hotel's personal rules are in terms of shirt and shoes and service and all that. Yeah, we don't want to be telling attendees. Okay, just real quick, just to be super clear, if somebody is not an attendee of our convention, if they're not wearing a badge, we don't say anything to them. Like, they can do whatever the heck they want. They are the hotel's problem to deal with. If they are bothering our attendees or being disruptive in some way, like if we have like looky-loos like trying to poke fun at people and like get into panel rooms and just being jerks about things, Finn, how would somebody handle a situation like that?
Yeah, actually, I was going to bring that up at some point, but awesome segue. But before that, I will get to the hotels will ask you to have some kind of covering on the bottom of your feet. I have seen cosplayers that have really awesome plastic things that sit on the bottom of their feet that give them cover, which is awesome. But if I see anyone walking around the hotel, or I will have my people say the same thing, if you're walking around the hotel without some kind of covering on the bottom of your feet, we'll ask you to go find something, socks, something put on the bottom of your shoes. The hotel will ask the same. That said, going back to segueing, people that are not a part of our convention, I do not care what those people are doing in their own room. I don't care what they are doing in the hotel. We do not approach them and ask them to stop doing anything. If there's an issue between them and our attendees, bring it up to the hotel, bring it up to myself or one of my staffers, to Charlie. Try not to approach them as much as possible unless it is something violent or there's an actual issue that somebody needs to step in. Try to avoid that. They aren't wearing our badge. They are not our responsibility. They are not under our purview. But unless it is a immediate issue that needs to be handled, like I said, let us know. Let the hotel know. Don't put yourself in a situation that is going to cause problems with groups that you are not responsible for.
Okay. This would be a great time if anyone has any questions, and anything that was just said, please put them in chat, just a reminder. While we look for things to come in there, I'm also going to take this opportunity to segue into emphasizing how important to me, and I'm sure to pretty much everyone else in management, on staff, et cetera, how important our anti-harassment policy is. This is a big enough deal that I'm actually going to read the top of it on the call here, just because the summary of this, I want everyone to hear this, and I want everyone to ask right now if you have any questions, because this, I am so serious. I have no tolerance for people that violate this policy. So please listen very carefully. Winnie City PonyCon is dedicated to providing a harassment-free convention experience for everyone, regardless of gender, gender identity and expression, sexual orientation, disability, physical appearance, body size, race, age, or religion. We do not tolerate harassment of convention participants in any form, unless a panel or event is both after 8 p.m. and is also specified as being either 18 plus or 21 plus. Sexual language or imagery is not allowed. Convention participants violating these rules may be sanctioned or expelled from the conference without a refund at the discretion of the convention organizers. Harassment includes, but is not limited to, verbal comments that reinforce social structures of domination related to gender, gender identity and expression, sexual orientation, disability, physical appearance, body size, race, age, or religion, sexual images in public spaces, deliberate intimidation, stalking, or following, harassing photography or recording, sustained disruption of talks or other events, inappropriate physical contact, unwelcome sexual attention, or advocating for or encouraging any of the above behavior. Now that's just the top of it. I encourage everyone with questions or curiosity on this topic to visit winniecity.com/about/us about-us/anti-harassment-policy. That's actually a really long URL now I think about it. But you can also find it just under about. It's a subheader under about for the full anti-harassment policy there. Super serious about this, everyone. And this applies to staff equally as much as attendees. Do not ruin someone else's time, please. Because I absolutely will take action on it. Somebody unmuted have a loss. You have something to add or question?
I was just noticing in the chat somebody also wanted to know about gender neutral bathrooms.
Unfortunately, the Schaumburg Hyatt has not done that for us in the past. I will bring it up again. I'll make a note of that right now. But for whatever reason, that's just not something that they have been interested in doing for us. But I will ask again. Okay. Any other questions about any of the last couple topics that we've talked about? Looks like. Josh W. says, seems like the opposite here for non-attendees at BronyCon. The convention center staff check badges no matter what. So to be clear, if somebody does not have a badge, they can't get into a convention space. Now, we don't have enough staff to be able to check badges for every single panel or event. So if you notice somebody that is in like a panel room or something like that does not have a badge around their neck, you can certainly ask them to say, like, just to make sure, especially, you can kind of tell, right? Like, if somebody may or, well, I don't want to be all stereotypical about it, but just if you see somebody without a badge and you think that, I haven't seen that person before, anybody can just say, hey, do you have a badge? And just kind of ask them if, just again, nicely, politely, ask them if they have a badge. If they don't, just be like, oh yeah, so this is actually just for attendees. You can head down to registration to pick up a badge if you want to check it out. Maybe get us a badge sale for it. Again, just be nice about it. If it is in any danger of escalating past that point, involve a manager or Royal Guard past that. There are, like Finn said before, we will be badging for 18+ events. We'll also be attempting to badge, if we have the staff, for some of the marquee events like the vendor hall, for example, and then like the guests of honor panels, opening and closing ceremonies, like the big stuff. We'll be trying to badge for that. We just don't have the staff to badge for every single panel. So, but just in general, yeah, no, you're not supposed to be in a convention space unless you have a badge. Just to be clear on that, in case there was some confusion. Okay, let's see.
Actually, I have a question sort of related to that, badges and such, when it comes to checking IDs, specifically on the After Dark panels, After Dark vendor hall. Is that going to be on the security end, or is that going to be on specifically the vendor hall end?
Finn, do you have somebody scheduled to ID down there?
I am planning on it.
Yeah, I know.
But you have an idea to do that, though.
So based on Cytofest, I plan on getting somebody down there.
Okay.
My plan was to have somebody there. Yes.
Okay.
However, Royal Guard is one of several departments that we have that's lighter on staff than we would like to be, and we don't want to be some people may volunteer to work more than their 20, but we certainly don't want the expectation to be set for people to work more than their 20. So I don't know where that puts things. So so right now, if I'm understanding correctly, the ball as far as covering that is in Finn's court, but he may ask for assistance if the need arises. Right?
Sorry, I'm trying to get staffers scheduled for the events that somebody asked me for today. I think its name is Cody.
Yeah, that's Vivid. Yeah.
Yes, I'm working on getting those staffed for that. It's just going to be a little bit weird.
Yeah, just a single person's required, just to make sure that everyone coming into the room has a sponsor badge. So it's a very, very low, very low stress task. You just need a body there just to watch the door, so make sure only sponsors are coming in for the sponsor dinner. That's all. Cool. So let's see. In general, in terms of bringing food and drink to the hotel, if you're bringing in food and drink for your personal consumption, like ordering in like Uber Eats or like, running out and getting McDonald's or whatever, I mean, that's totally fine. What we don't want to do is be ordering in large orders to feed like a large group of people. Unless you're doing it in the privacy of your own hotel room. Again, whatever you do in your own hotel room is, I do not care. But just for example's sake, if I keep using registration as an example, so I'm just going to stick with them. If somebody in registration says, hey, I think we're all hungry, let's order in 20 pizzas so everybody can come down and get some, the hotel will not appreciate that unless you bring the pizzas up again to your hotel room, but don't do it in registration or in any other event space. Yeah, so there's that. But other than that, just in terms of having personal food and drink, it's no problem. Let's see. Just in case anyone is not clear on this, for being on staff, your compensation as a thank you for being on staff and giving us your 20 hours over the weekend is your badge is comped. You get your staff shirt, obviously, and you have access to the discounted room rate. In terms of perks for being on staff, that is where it ends. So here's what I mean by that. Staff does not get special privileges in terms of, for example, interacting with the guests of honor. So like you don't get to jump the line for autographs if you're on staff. You know, would not be appropriate to like not corner, but you know what I mean? Like approach a guest of honor in the hallway and say like, oh, hey, I'm on staff. Could you sign this for me? Like that's not something we want to be doing. Aside from the benefits I just mentioned, there are no special perks or anything like that that comes along with being on staff. If you want to go to get an autograph or a photograph or whatever with our guests of honor, when the department heads are writing up their schedules, just make sure that they know that at least in one of the autograph sessions, we have 4 over the weekend, 1 on Friday, 2 1 hours on Saturday, and then 1 on Sunday. There should be some point in time where they should be able to schedule you off shift so that you can go down there and you can get your autograph. But just like every other attendee, staffers, and this goes from myself too, are expected to go to the con store and get autograph or photograph or combo vouchers before they head down to the autograph room. And they are expected to just behave and act and follow the same rules as everyone else is standing in line. So just to be very, very, very clear on that. Gotcha. I've got a question from an attendee in the chat. Caper is asking about subtitles or closed captioning. We won't be airing it live, Caper. Hasbro sort of, they let it happen, like let us show the shows as long as we're not doing it live while the episode's happening. So that's why we do it later in the day. As far as whether or not we're going to have the ability to show closed captions on that, that's actually not a bad idea. I just don't know that we're going to be able to. But I'll add that as a note to Lost to see, while we're preparing for that, just to see if that's a possibility or not. I don't mind. I don't mind doing that if we can, because there's probably a couple people that would appreciate that. But yeah, I don't. Just based on what I'm used to, I don't imagine we're going to be able to do that.
Given the quick turnaround, I don't believe we're going to be able to. I can double check, but the quick turnaround does hinder that a bit.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I appreciate the question. But again, for anyone that's watching the call, if you're not on staff, if you have any questions, go ahead and just direct them to the normal places, like the the Facebook Messenger, the Facebook page, I should say, or Twitter DM or something like that. Go ahead and keep the chat room free for staffers, just so we can make sure that we see everything that they want to ask. This is mainly a staff focused event, so I appreciate that. Thank you.
While we're on the topic of episodes, you wanted somebody to remind you in the staff, or not the staff lounge, the sponsor lounge, to have My Little Pony episodes or something going on TV.
I've already covered it with our hospitality department head, so yes, thank you for the reminder. Okay, let's see. Do kind of make sure that while you're on staff, kind of help just keep the place clean. Like, we're not asking you to be janitors, of course, but if you see if you are able to, if there's some trash lying around or whatever, and you are able to just kind of throw it in a nearby trash can, that would be appreciated. And just in general, don't contribute, of course, to the con, to the convention and the hotel being dirtier. So, don't make the problem worse at the very least. Michelle, you got something? No, okay. I think. So this is a big deal to me. When closing ceremonies comes around on Sunday evening, I ask, please and thank you, that everyone that can stop what you're doing and come down to closing ceremonies, because we have a staff photo that I would like as many staffers as possible to be in it. Now, if you don't like to be photographed, totally fine. If you but I guess really aside from that, if you don't mind being in the photo, or especially if you want to be in the photo, just go ahead. Whatever you're doing in that moment in time is likely not more important than coming down and joining us for that picture, because that's sort of that's important to me, to be able to share that with all of you. So yeah, just go ahead and keep your eyes and ears open, unlike radio and Slack, for calls for everyone to stop what they're doing and come down to main events on Sunday afternoon for closing ceremonies for that. Make sure you know, by the way, who your manager is. You should be very clear on who your supervisor is, so that if you have any questions, please use the chain of command. I'm certainly here. Me and your directors are certainly here to help, but not every single question needs to come to us. And I am telling you this because I have been, I've been scolded by Michelle, by other managers, for trying to be too helpful and driving myself crazy. So if you have a question that somebody other than me can answer, like your immediate supervisor or somebody else around you, they encourage you to please ask them first. If they don't know the answer, they will probably feed it up the chain to get an answer. But if it's something that's considered a basic question, I guess you could say, or something that that somebody else could handle, please go ahead and try and get a hold of somebody more directly related to that question first before you come all the way up the chain to me. Which is not to say I don't want to help. It's just if everyone's coming to me for every question, I'm gonna go crazy. So,
Charlie?
Yes.
A couple of things with that, and then jump back to the previous topic. So again, I'm Vivid, my name's Cody. I tried to keep my camera working, but it wasn't. I have a beard and usually wear a purple shirt. Just to be clear, if you are in main events, special events, kids programming, video gaming, tabletop gaming, AV, or AV, then it rolls up to me before it gets to Charlie. So go to your manager first, then to me, then to Charlie.
Thank you for saying that. And then on the operations side of thing, operations department, obviously, registration, vendor hall, Constore, and Royal Guard are the operations departments. After your individual department heads, your department division director is Serverat, who could not be on the call right now because he had to rescue some friends who were stuck on the side of the highway. So please go through that direction too as well. Now, I don't want to give across the perception that I don't want to help. Of course, I'm here to help you, but again, if everyone's coming to me for everything, which I'm saying this because this has happened, I will go crazy and I will not be able to. I'm a goldfish. Okay, I have a very short attention span, so it's better for everyone if you go up the chain. Thank you.
Awesome. And then one other topic on the subject of closing ceremonies. After we take the photo, don't disperse. There is once we have closing ceremonies done, everybody has lots and lots of good feelings, and you want to go hang out with your friends. That's understandable, but the work is not done at that point.
Yes.
Specifically, AV has to do tons and tons and tons of work to tear down everything, and they could use a lot of help. A lot of it is just things like coiling cables or just moving stuff out to a truck. And in conventions past, they've been left with way more work than is reasonable, and they've often had to stay till like 10 o'clock or later at night to get everything packed up. To help with that, I've been working with Lost a little bit. There's a bit of a new process in place. So after closing ceremonies, please stick around. Even if there's not something that you can do immediately, they do need help. Lost, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the specific things people can help with?
So everything that you guys see put up in main events, when it's put up, and all of the equipment that you will see in panel rooms, everything that's there is going to need to be tore down. We need to pack it all up. We need to make sure we've got it all inventoried. Now, I also understand that in some cases, people sit there and they'll be like, "Oh, we came to help." What's funny is we may not need your help at right that moment, but don't run off. Usually in 10 to 15 minutes afterwards, we will. Essentially, we're going to need to have people help haul everything down to the loading dock. We need to get 2 trucks fully loaded and ready to go. In addition, because AV also pretty much handles the truck that brings all of the Corgi convention gear, we also need to worry about that truck and getting everything that needs to go and loaded in that truck as well. Everything from coiling cables to making sure equipment is sorted to pulling down the truss to folding up the drape that you will see. We're actually going to end up using some a lot of safety pins to pin drape together. We did this to save some money on, so we could have some other fancy things in main events. So we even need people just to fold drape. And if you can fold a tablecloth, you can fold drape.
That's an important thing to expand. So first of all, thank you very much, guys, for bringing this up. This was on my mental list of things to mention. So I'm very glad you brought this up. Yes, a lot of just to expand on what Lost is saying right now. Some people in the past have said that they didn't want to come down to help AV because they don't know anything about AV. There are plenty of non-technical things that they need help with. Just simply manpower, person power of moving stuff from one place to another, stacking up chairs, folding drapes like she's saying. There's a lot of things that you can do if you don't know the first thing about the gear that's in AV. So yes, thank you very much for bringing this up.
And one of the other things that we were looking at doing, and we were going to try and do it during the call, but I think it's going to work better in person, mainly because if you're on AV, you already know how to do this. So any member of AV should be able to show people how to properly coil cables. You might not think that this is a big ordeal, but it is.
Yeah.
If the cables are not coiled properly, especially if they're the cables that have been rented from our production company, we do get charged for each cable or coil they would have to cable they would have to recoil. So that's something to keep in mind. However, like I said, any member of AV and even some members outside of AV should be able to show you how to properly do that. If we get enough people together, especially on strike, we can have one person sit there and start showing everybody how to properly coil the cables and walk them through doing it a few times.
Strike means taking everything apart and packing up.
Thanks. I've gotten so used to saying strike lately. So that would be the tear down part.
Please, staff, I love you. Don't unionize and go on strike. Thank you.
Yeah, not that kind of strike.
Yeah, and so Tree Stump the Vape and Pony asks, will all staff have to be involved with helping tear down or setting up? So the answer is no. This is not a requirement of being on staff to help. What this is saying is that the more people that we have to help that are willing to volunteer to help, the faster we're able to get AV packed up, the happier everyone is going to be. And this leads into something else. So if you are not familiar with what a dead dog party is, this is a term. I have no idea how this started, aside from like you're being as tired as a dead dog. I don't know. But
real quick,
20 plus years of conventions. That's how.
Yeah.
Real quick, can I also say, kids programming usually just needs like one person to help move stuff in and stuff out, because I have issues with carrying heavy stuff. So
sure, yeah. Let's back up a second. So there's going to be some departments that are not going to be able to help AV tear down, like video gaming, for example. Video gaming has 3 people in their department. They're very lightly staffed this year to the point where they had to reduce their hours for the department being open, just because that they only had 2 volunteers aside from No Pony helping out. So video gaming is a department where they're going to be taking care of themselves. And then kids programming, they've got a lot of stuff to take out, and Laura needs some help doing that. So just in addition to everything that was just said about, please, if you are willing, stick around and offer to help with AV. There might also be other departments that could use your help as well, like kids, like video gaming, like some other places that just need person power in terms of just helping to pack up so that we can all call it a night hopefully around the same time. So that being said, Dead Dog Party. So Dead Dog is a tradition. It's basically the staff after party after the con. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to keep an eye on Slack for a post-it announcements for the time and the room for when and where Dead Dog is going to be. However, Dead Dog is not going to start this year until every single one of those departments we just mentioned, video gaming, kids, and main events, till they're packed up and done. I'm not going to start a party when other people are still working. So the faster that we get everything packed up and all those departments put away and done, the faster we can all unwind and relax and celebrate having a good weekend. Okay? Does that make sense? I hope so. Yes.
You're talking about Dead Dog, the rule on like noise and everything at that party. So I don't think yell people.
No, yeah. So now again, because so on the note of Dead Dog, Michelle just brought it up. It is almost an inevitability that at Dead Dog we're going to get noise complaints because we're talking about a bunch of people unwinding after what is likely going to be a very hectic, busy, stressful weekend. That being said, let's try and not have some noise complaints. We don't need to get too crazy. We don't need to, we don't need to be doing keg stands or anything like that. I don't think we're gonna have a keg, but you get the point. You get the point, right? It's just a matter of like, I don't want to spoil our celebration for ourselves by having the hotel tell us we have to stop because we're being too loud.
I need to do a keg stand. I went to college in Wisconsin and I never did one.
Well, you're in Chicago now. I don't know what that means, but no, it's not.
Seriously, you never did one?
I've never done one. Do I look like somebody that's done a keg stand?
Yes, but Charlie, you didn't live in Wisconsin.
Oh, fair. Anyways, so yeah, let's just try, and that sort of also, I guess, applies to the rest of the weekend. Anyways, when you're having your individual room parties or whatever at night, just the zero noise complaints is the goal. Is that likely? Is that an attainable goal? Well, I'm not sure, but that is the goal anyways.
Hey Charlie, I just want to just mention this really quick because I never actually mentioned this for Dead Dog. I will politely bring this up while your wonderful con chair is throwing you a party for helping run a wonderful convention for the weekend. Do not expect alcohol to be provided for you. It will probably be there, but that said, don't expect it to be provided for you.
Yeah, that pretty much. Will there be some stuff to share around? Probably, but yeah, it's better safe than sorry. Just bring something of your own, so that if there is stuff to go around, well, you can just share your stuff then and just add it to the pool. Yes.
Clean the fuck up after I'm not doing it today.
And also, being the fact that the Dead Dog is one of the very last things that happen, please clean up after yourselves when you leave, because what usually ends up happening is that there's the 2 or 3 people that are left that have survived to the end of Dead Dog. What's that?
You're welcome.
I'll feed you Malort if you don't show up with booze. That's your punishment.
Okay, hang on. Let's not get crazy. No, just please be respectful, obviously, of the room and everything, and before you leave, throw 5 things away that are supposed to be thrown away. I should probably specify that. Yeah. So I think that's that. Okay, I think we've pretty much hit on all the important stuff. Managers, is there anything that you think should be talked about from a general staff perspective that has not been yet?
Can you just ask them to familiarize themselves with the staff so we don't have any of those embarrassing
Yeah, do me a favor, do yourself a favor. Please look at our page of guests and familiarize yourself, in case you're not aware, with who our guests of honor are, and probably our community guests too. At least, we only have 10 this year, so it should not be that hard, but especially our guests of honor. It has happened a couple times in the past where people have gotten themselves into some embarrassing situations by saying, like, excuse me, you don't have a badge. I don't know who you are. You're not supposed to be in here. And they're talking to like M.A. Larson. It's let's just know who the guests of honor are, because they are the biggest draw. Why, I would say fairly, they're probably one of the biggest reasons why attendees come to the convention. And we want the guests to have a good time, because then the attendees have a good time, and then we can keep doing these. So yeah, it's a good life cycle.
I want to interrupt. I don't care if while I appreciate our guests, please remind them to have their badge on.
Yes. Fair.
Because I will remind that with our staffers, don't care if you are running late to go get a panel set up. Please have your badge on. Because if I see you running through the back of a hall somewhere and you don't have your badge on, I will have one of my Royal Guard staffers stop you and tell you to go back and get your badge.
Yes. My apologies. That was a bad.
I'm not doing that to be a pain in the ass. I am doing that to set a standard for other staffers and our attendees. If you are going into something that is con space, please have your badge on.
Yeah. That was a bad ad lib on my part. I retract that part of that example. Yes. Now, the handlers that are assisting the guests of honor should make sure that the guests have their badge. If the guest doesn't want to wear their badge, I don't know. They'll figure something else out, but they should have the badge on them for sure. But yes, no, especially in terms of everyone else. Yes, if you don't have your badge on, please, always have your badge on. I guess is the simplest way. Also, just to tie into something that Finn just said, please don't abuse the hotel corridors, like the back areas. If you're not supposed to be back there, just don't use them. The hotel staff doesn't like it when we like get in their way. Even if we're not actually, it sort of just creates like a weird. We found this out at like Cider Fest, especially. Just like even if we're not actually in their way,
you're in their space.
Yeah, you're in their space, and we just want to maintain a good relationship with them.
Hey, actually, Charlie, I have something to bring up really quick. Does Hyatt have what they consider like backstage passes? So working MFF, because of the amount of backstage and behind hallways there are at that hotel, they actually have separate passes that they will make for con staff to okay them being back behind, like in areas that are normally reserved for hotel staff.
And these are provided by the hotel?
Correct.
Okay. I don't know. That I've never asked that question. At this particular hotel, I don't think it's that big of a problem.
Agreed. I know they've never really had much of an issue, but if it were to become an issue, it's worth running by the hotel to see if they have them, just to say, hey, more so the hotel has an issue with people being back behind rooms, to actually be able to say, hey, you're okay back here, you're good to go.
Well, technically it is, but
yeah. On a similar note, the last anime convention that I worked, the anime convention itself actually had their own backstage passes, and that was to not just get back into the hallways, but to also go back behind the stage area or the green room areas as well.
Charlie, you're muted.
Yeah, I was talking. I meant to be. Thank you though. Okay, so it's a couple things addressing some things that are being said in the chat. So just to reemphasize, just like attendees, so the only sanctioned times where it's okay to ask for an autograph or a photograph from a guest of honor is when you're standing in the autograph room with a voucher in your hand that to redeem for an autograph and or photograph. So in any other circumstance, it is not appropriate either for an attendee or for a staffer to say, hey, can I get a quick autograph? Or hey, can we take a quick selfie? Like it's just not okay. Okay, so let's just be very clear. Now, has it happened where the guest has said, hey, do you got something I can sign? Or hey, you want to take a quick picture? That is, if it is their idea and they're the ones that bring it up, that's totally on them. That is perfectly fine. But in no circumstance, so, with the attendees, we can't control what they say and do, right? So, I mean, like, it's up to the handlers of the guests to handle situations. If attendees say, hey, can we take a quick selfie or whatever, like, those, that's up to them to handle. But I'm speaking to you as staffers, like, please do not get in the situation where you're just like, hey, can you just sign this real quick? Or like, hey, can we take a quick selfie? Like, it's just not okay. If the guest brings it up, fine. Like, you don't say no if the guest brings it up. But I don't want anyone on staff bringing it up, just to be very clear on that.
And Michelle enforces that big time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay, so okay, anything else, managers, that we should that you think we should talk about that we haven't?
It looks like there's some confusion about back hallways.
Okay, so yeah, so the back hallways of the hotel, like, if there are certain people that will use the hallways to get, to like escort the guests through them, for example, or like AV, if they need to get from one room to another quickly or something like that, they might use it. I just don't want people making a habit out of using the service corridors just to get around, just casually. If you need to use a service corridor for like, for your to do your job, fine. Just make sure that you're staying out of the hotel staff's way. Don't knock anything over. I mean, it goes without saying, right? Like, don't make a mess. Like, don't knock anything over. Don't leave stuff, lying around. Like, don't mess with the hotel stuff. I mean, I think that probably all goes without saying, but I'm gonna say it anyways. But yeah, just generally speaking, if you're just getting from point A to point B, like, just don't make a habit out of using the service corridors. Just use the hallways with the rest of the attendees. This got brought up because this was more of an issue at Cider Fest, because at Cider Fest with that hotel there's the service elevators, and we just with the Hyatt, and there were some staff that just were using the service elevators like they were staff elevators, and so which is not what we want to be doing. So I'm just sort of bringing that here. But again, at this hotel is, it's a much chiller hotel. It's a smaller convention. It's a much, it's more spread out. So like the elevator thing is not really a concern. So yeah, I'm just saying in generally, just don't make a habit out of using the service corridors is what I'm trying to say, unless you're doing it for your job, for your responsibilities.
Additionally, at Cider Fest, it was my understanding that we had attendees that were also using that elevator.
Well, that clearly is not okay. So yeah. Absolutely. All right. Anything else, folks? Okay. If you have any questions, by all means, ask. Ask in Slack, ask your department heads, ask me if you can't get an answer from anywhere else. Yeah, no, I think that pretty much covers everything. If we think of anything that we missed, we'll put it like in announcements in Slack. So especially from here on going out, it is super important that you're all checking in on Slack. Please turn on your notifications for important channels like your department channel and announcements at the very least. If something is put in announcements, it really is for everyone to look at. I use that very conservatively. So if something goes into announcements, I really do intend for every single person on staff to see whatever that is. So please keep an eye on that. Yeah, if you have any questions, let us know. Otherwise, last call for questions. If you have any questions that have not been asked, have not been answered, if you asked it already, we haven't answered it, please re-ask it, because I apologize, we missed it. So last call for questions in the YouTube chat.
Luckrock wants to know about the musician/community guests that have comped rooms. Do they just give their real names at the front desk and get their room cards?
Yes, the rooms are booked under their own names. They can check in just like they booked it themselves. They will need to put a card down just to secure the room for incidentals, but the actual daily room charges won't go onto those cards. Those get billed to the hotel. Those get billed to the convention, right? In the cases of those where they're comped, yes. Last call for questions. Last call for questions. Yes, the yearly Charlie, can we shave your beard for the charity auction question? The answer is no. No, you cannot. Stop trying to shave my face. I promise you don't actually want that. I look like a overgrown man baby without a beard.
We've seen pictures of him without that beard. No.
It's really bad. It's really, really bad.
They want to know if the music event will be live streamed.
So yes, we intend to live stream at the very least all of the main events panels. We're going to use Twitch because they seem to be cooperative with us in terms of people playing bits of copyrighted music, which just upsets the automated detectors on like YouTube and Facebook. So Twitch seems to be better on that. So yes, we're probably going to use Twitch. Other panel rooms will hopefully be streamed and or recorded if we can get the Mevos working. But yes. Question about the drone photographer. Go ahead and message me somewhere else separately about whatever your question is. What was that, Sean? Okay.
Can they dye your beard?
Can they dye my beard? I'm just gonna. Yeah. You know, a blanket question like that. I'm just gonna say no. Michelle is the protector of my beard. If you want to do anything with it, you're just gonna have to go through her. God help you. So we'll just leave it at that. I almost did glitter my beard for Pride last year, but I just didn't for whatever reason. Yeah, it just seems like it'd be itchy though. It just seems like it'd be a mess. Okay. Last call for questions. Going once. Going twice. Told 0 questions. Okay. Honestly and seriously, thank you. Thank you, first of all, for making it to the end of this video for this stream. You know, just shy of 2 hours, I think, is the average for one of these things. And so, you know, thanks for, if you were watching live, thank you for hanging out with us. And if you watch us after the fact, thank you for doing what, you know, we asked you to do and watching the whole thing. Hopefully there were at least some things in this that you gray-haired con veterans were able to get out of it and make it worth your while. No, I said it before, I'm going to say it again. Like, the con could not happen without staff to run it. You know, you're one of the most important pieces in the machine that could not function without. And so just thank you very much. Honestly, really do appreciate everyone putting in their time to make this thing happen. So I very much appreciate it. I'm sure the rest of the managers all appreciate it also. So thank you very much. That said, once again, final time, if you have any questions, please let us know. Otherwise, managers, please stay on the call so we can just have an after chat. Other than that, everyone else, we'll see you in, well, under 2 weeks now at this point. Thanks very much, and have a good night. Going off air.